Hello and welcome to Knit Tea Live. Woo! Oh boy. So I hope that people know that this is starting because honestly, yes, my mic is on. I made a mistake when I scheduled the stream and I set it for 1 p.m. when it was supposed to be 12 p.m. So hopefully y'all are getting reminded right now that it's starting. But it is Knit Tea Live. It is Sunday. I am drinking my coffee out of my favorite Contigo mug. Hashtag not sponsored. But hey, if Contigo, you want to sponsor a video for my little channel, please feel free. So today let me figure out where to put this so that's good. Okay, so today's Knit Tea Live, I'm gonna just be upfront right now. It probably will be longer than a normal Knit Tea Live because I have a very big topic to cover. I have been researching it and outlining it for a couple of days now, and I don't know if I'm I can't wait to share it with all y'all, but it is something I definitely want to make sure that we discuss thoroughly. So before I forget, let's make sure to do all the YouTube-y things. If you're watching right now, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, share it with people. If you're watching this on the replay, so glad that you're watching it on the replay. Make sure to share, and make sure that you're subscribed. And if you are watching on the try that again. If you are watching on the replay, there are timestamps down in the description box. So if there's something you want to skip past or something you want to get to right away, you can do so. And also, super chats are on if you'd like to leave me a little tip today. It's on. Speaking of tips, before we get too deep into things, I want to remember to tell you something. Down in the description box, you will find a link to my Ko-fi, which is my buy me a coffee internet thing. It's a way to leave a tip. And I have a new goal on it. And my new goal is to be able to purchase a knitting belt, also known as a mackin. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And long double-pointed knitting needles so I can try knitting like Hazel Tinsdale. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But yeah, I really wanted to try out knitting the way it's been traditionally done in the Shetland Islands using a knitting belt. I found someone here in the United States who is making them, and he sells them on his website and on Etsy. And yeah, if you want to learn more about it, check out my Ko-fi. And if you want to help me get to my goal of being able to purchase one so that I can try one out for you, of course, I will document the journey of that. You can help me out by checking out my Ko-fi after the live stream is over. Sorry, I'm really nervous about today's live stream, only because we have such a big topic to cover, and I have so much media and stuff I want to share. So I'm a little nervous. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little nervous because normally on a live stream, I might have a rough outline, but I pretty much wing it a lot of times. And today, I want to make sure that I'm really stay on point. All right, so I keep mentioning this big topic. Carrie, what are you talking about? Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably haven't been on the Twitters or on Reddit or anything like that the last few days. But February for the Fiververse on the interwebs has been on fire. There has been so much drama, so much discourse, and it is ending with two tech bro dudes, kind of pulling the entire Fiververse together in a moment of what the F. It's been kind of hilarious and also infuriating, and I'm going to break down the whole thing today for you, tell you what happened, who these two guys are, what it is that they're up to, and why they have ticked off the knitting verse and the crochet verse and the Fiververse because, spectacularly. And probably have tanked their business before it even really got started. So that's the big thing today. But, don't want this just to be about two yo-yos, two tech bro yo-yos. We're still going to have some fun. I'm going to start off by sharing with you my current WIPs, and I have a finished project to show you. And then at the end, we are going to be doing Pattern Spotlight. I feel very strongly about making sure this Pattern Spotlight is done today because I want to make sure that I'm highlighting the amazing small businesses and independent designers who are, in my opinion, the backbone of this craft, online and in real life, even if two tech bros don't know anything about it. I didn't bother to find anything about it. So, but I want to make sure also I say hi to all of y'all. So hello, and let me know in the chat if you are here, if you're ready to talk. I'd love to hear about what you are working on as I show you my WIPs and FOBs. So hello, Sarah. So glad that you're here today. Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. Oh, shoot. Sorry. My tablet pen is going crazy and I'm having, there we go. There we go. Hello, Sarah. So glad that you're here today. Thank you for making it. I hope the live stream signal is okay because my mouse is not. Hello, Darnell Reynolds. You are, sorry, I'm trying to discern what VYN stands for. But so glad I'm seeing a lot of new names. Well, they went to Michael's for research. Yes, yes, they did. We will discuss that as we get into that topic. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's so great to see new faces. Or I should say names, because I can't see your face, even if you can see mine. But Samantha, hello, knitting a changing staircase shawl. Oh, I will have to check that out. I'm going to note that. I'm going to note that right now. Changing staircase shawl, because I love the name. And I want to look at it after I'm done. Okay. Sarah Dawn is eating lunch and working on a second sock. Yes, you overcame second sock syndrome. Whoop, whoop. I think that deserves a cheer. So what have I been working on this past week? Well, I've got, I started the year without a ton of WIPs going on. And this month, I'm really making up for lost time. But I'll start with a FOB. I'll start with my finished object. This is my finished object. If you watched my last live stream, you probably saw this in progress, but this is a Tunisian crochet hat that I worked in the round. Yeah, and I finished it. I think it's super adorable. There are pictures of it on my Instagram if you want to take a closer look at it there. This was a very enjoyable project. This is the Dre hat. That's spelled D-R-E-I, Dre hat by Ecomcrew Designs, and I'll put the name in the chat, and I will make sure to put a link to it down the description box after the live stream. But the Dre hat by Ecomcrew Designs. So there we go. Link to hat. So yeah, so I finished this and I really enjoyed this project. I have to say, I really am enjoying Tunisian crochet. They talk about knitters who spin. I'm like a knitter who crochets. Occasionally I do, get into crochet projects, but I really enjoy Tunisian crochet a lot. I love the rhythm of it. It's super fast. It's so much fun. And yeah, it's just a favorite of mine. Let's see, Sarah, what is this without a ton of WIPs? Is it an alien concept? I know, right? Well, like I said, in February, I'm making up for time. I've got the starting bug going for sure. But yeah, it occasionally happens where it's like I get through like a bunch of projects and hadn't necessarily started a bunch more. Hello, Lisa. So glad you're here today. Next, so that's my finished object, and I got 2 whips to show you. These aren't my only whips going on, but these are the 2 I wanted to show you. First, I'm going to show you this one. Oh, focus. Focus. There we go. This is where I'm at with the Clapidus shawl, or scarf. Clapidus scarf. I started this not right when the Olympics started, like a few days before the Olympics started. And I am almost done with the increase portion of it, and I'm going to be starting on the I am finished with the portion where you maintain the stitch count throughout, and I'm going to be getting to the decrease portion next. So I am getting near the end of this, and this is the clapotis. It's not clapidus, like I always thought. I learned today on Twitter from knitty.com themselves that it is clapotis. But if you don't know about this type of project, the clapotis is a classic pattern in the knitting world. I would say that it's actually the first pattern that really went viral in the internet age. Like back in the early 2000s, everybody was knitting this project, and I came across this yarn a few months ago. This is Jojo Land Jojo Land Rhythm in Aquarius, and immediately I was like, clapotis. Actually, it was like clapotis, but now I know how to pronounce it. Clapotis. So I'm really enjoying this project. It's a classic. You can still get it from free from knitty.com. One of those mid-size places in the knitting world. And you will understand the joke behind that when we get into our main topic of the day. Hello, Whip Insanity, Kathleen Sperling, so glad you're here. And finally, I wanted to show you this. If you haven't watched my latest video last Friday, I posted a video about how to do a tubular edge using Judy's Magic Cast On. And this was the project that I started, and I did continue it. So, whoops, pull it back, find the right lighting. There we go. You can see that beautiful tubular edge, and it is a double knit project. And yeah, so I'm on my way with that. I'm having to work. This is going to be a slower project to get through. 1, it is double knit. 2, it's cotton, and you know, cotton wears the hand. They tire the hands out. I love working with cotton, but cotton definitely tires the hands more quickly than wool does. It's just a fact of life. So yeah, those are my whips and my fobs. Whew. So, yes, Sarah, it is. Double knitting is fun, but it's slow. It is slow. And I really enjoy double knitting. I love the way it looks. I think it's a really great way to do color work, but it is a little bit slower. And let me know if you do double knit. Do you double knit? How do you handle 2 strands? Because I'm doing 2 color double knit. I'm carrying both strands at once. And when I do that, and I do plan to do a video on this soon, but when I do that type of color work where I'm carrying 2 strands of yarn at once, I typically go for the method of carrying yarn in both my left and my right hand. And I've gotten pretty efficient at it, but it's definitely a slower way to knit. Sarah. It seems to be the type of cotton. I've had some cottons that weren't as bad on the hands. Yes, that is true. The type of cotton does matter, and the cotton that I'm using for this is peaches and cream. So, you know, dishcloth cotton. And that is definitely one of the, I think, the less forgiving cottons out there, but it is a workhorse. Like, I make so many dishcloths with that yarn. And I swear they're indestructible. Those dishcloths last forever. So, yep. Same. Just stroll. 1 strand in the right and 1 in the left. Same as I do. Kathleen. I do double knitting a lot. I usually do it in continental with both yarn held on different fingers of my left hand. Yeah, I do think it's much easier with continental to carry both strands in your one hand and be able to just pick the strand that you want. Um, I can knit with two strands of yarn in my right hand, um, but it's a very different way. It's very fiddly how it can be done. But yeah, I do think that continental knitting does lend itself to that way of doing it. Let's see, Sarah, I knit modified English style and I just let one color hang while I work the other one. Yep, that is a totally legitimate way of going about it. When I work, whoops. The downside to my method though is that I notice my purls are at a different gauge for my knits. I'm trying to improve that. That is the thing about it, isn't it? Is trying to get that tension even between knits and purls. And that's why when I do knit continental, I actually go for combo knitting and wrapping my yarn clockwise when I purl and counterclockwise when I knit. And I do the same thing with double knit. And I find that that really makes a difference in my tension. It really makes better tension even when I'm double knitting. Like even with the yarn in my right hand, if I have to do a purl, I'll still wrap it clockwise for my tension. Yeah, color dominance. It's real. That struggle is real, Sarah. Yes, Kathleen, definitely. If you have a chance, check out utilizing Eastern mounted stitches for your purls to help with tension issues. It's a great trick. It's one I use all the time, not just for when I'm doing continental knitting. I use it for 1x1 ribbing to keep my tension really nice and tight with that. A lot of situations. I need to do a video on it. I need to do a video on it. So, yeah. Let's see. So if nothing more we want to talk about in terms of WIPs and FOBs, because we are already almost 20 minutes into this. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. I'm going to note the time. And we are going to get into the main topic of the day. I don't think you're weird, Sarah, for not noticing a noticeable tension difference between knits and purls. I do think, I just saw the comments, so immediately I'm off. I think that with knitting, I think the big advantage to knitting with yarn in the right hand is that it is easier to get good tension between knits and purls. So, yeah. Okay, I have to go to my script. So excuse me if during this live stream I'm looking down a lot. It's because I'm looking down at my computer and making sure I have everything, that I'm hitting all the things I want to hit. But yeah, we're going to get to this topic and about this. Okay. I have a lot I want to say and a lot of things I want to share, things that I found, thoughts that I have. So I'm going to try to limit my squirrel moments and not look too closely at comments and questions. I will pause at different parts of this to scroll back through and see what comments there are or what questions there are, because this is a conversation. That's one of the great things about doing this stuff live is we can have that conversation. I just want to make sure that I don't get scattered while I'm doing it. If you do have a question about what I'm talking about as we're going along, please feel free to please put it in the chat. But if you want to just put question first so that I know it's a question as I scroll through, when I kind of swoop backwards, I stole that from Emily D. Baker. But as I sweep through, that would be super, super helpful. The other thing as we go through this is I think these two tech bros, as you're going to see, are totally deserving of criticism. But I personally want to limit making mean or bad comments about them as humans and really just I'm going to try to keep it focused on the behavior because, you know, I don't know these two guys. You know, I don't know who they are in their everyday lives. All I know is what I have seen of their business practices. And that's kind of what I want to focus on because there's some things that I saw that I personally find distasteful in some of the things that they do. So that's kind of my caveat going into this. And the next thing I'm just going to say real quick, let's just get into it. Let's just get into it, shall we? So I was on Reddit. I kind of lurk around Reddit, Craft Snark in particular, and a story came up. Somebody commented that somebody had bought knitting.com, this domain name that has actually been parked for like decades by somebody in Iceland. Somebody in Iceland has owned the domain knitting.com. And they just recently sold it for $80,000, right? And the two people who bought it were these two guys. That's the one I want. Yes, these two guys bought knitting.com for $80,000. And they've got big dreams. They got such big dreams when it comes to knitting.com. Who are they? Well, on the left side of the photo, the clean-shaven gentleman, his name is Dave Bryant. I sometimes refer to him as that guy Canadian. And on the right, the bearded gentleman, that is Mike Jackness. I couldn't make that name up. Mike Jackness, who I sometimes refer to as that guy American. So they have a dream. They have many dreams, but one of their dreams apparently is to take knitting.com and turn it into an 8-figure online e-commerce store, because that's what these guys really do. They are e-commerce bros. Whoops, try that again. Yes, these are two e-commerce bros. What does that mean? Well, we'll get more into what that means, but go down. But their goal with this knitting.com, as I said, they are currently what they say currently is that they are 7-figure guys. One thing that I'm learning is that in the e-com world, the way that you measure your stick is by the number of zeros after your business. So these are they claim to be 7-figure sellers, but they have dreams of being 8-figure sellers. And they think knitting.com is going to get them that next zero on their stick. In 12 months, they want knitting.com to generate them $80,000 in revenue every month. Every month! And in 2 years, they want to, well, no, I think in 5 years, I think I have that wrong. But in like 2 to 5 years, they want to generate 8 figures and at some point sell the business for like around $10 million. And I mean, in short, they want to do in 5 years what many, many, many business people who've gone into yarn and knitting and crochet in the craft space have not managed to do in 10 years. But hey, it's good to have big dreams, right? Right? It's good to have big dreams. And I'm all for big dreams. All for them. Scrolling down. But, these two guys have made classic blunders. Actually, several blunders. But they have made one, I think, classic blunder that's right up there with never go against a Sicilian when death is involved. And that is, when you come for the knitters, you get the needles. And that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. And if you don't handle it right, it could be a very bad thing. And that's what these two dudes have found out, is that if you're going to come into the knitting space, you best come in respectfully and you best do it knowledgeably. And they have failed on those 2 points in like a spectacular fashion. Spectacular fashion. So I know some of you who are here live right now have been watching this unfold. And yeah, if you have any comments you want to throw in now or any questions, if not, I'm going to just start diving into this. So the way I'm going to break this down is I'm first going to talk about who those 2 guys are. Then we're going to get into the specifics of the podcast / YouTube video that they managed, that they put out, that has literally tanked knitting.com as a brand. In like hours of this coming to light in the knitting community. Like, I'm not even sure it's salvageable. They've done such a poor job. And then we'll talk a little bit about the aftermath. But I'm going to be honest, most of this is going to be focused on who these guys are, what their businesses are, and this podcast. So yeah, that's kind of the breakdown, the outline of how we're going to go through this. Let's see. I'm going to just quick comments. Gestrol, sorry. Oddly, this time the American was smart enough to keep his head down and mouth shut when it came to web interactions. Right, seriously? Seriously. Like, there's so many blunders in this story, so many blunders. And one of them is definitely, like, just keep digging your way out, right? You're in a hole. Let's just keep digging our way out. It was ridiculous. It was like, dude. Sarah Dunn. Oh, well, I don't know. We were in the same area. Oh, personal conversation going on. Okay. So first off, who are those 2 guys? Well, their names, as I said, they are Mike and Dave, and they are 2 ecom entrepreneurs. Really what they are mostly are Amazon sellers. Although I guess according to their bios and various things, they've had various ventures. They've sold on eBay, they've sold on Amazon, they've had Shopify stores. And you know, separately, they haven't been business partners per se. And they've had various ventures. Separately, they've been involved in different online commerce ventures. Let me go back to my outline. I hope I don't babble through this. Like I said, Dave, who is the Canadian, had a business. His first big business was selling boat anchors through Amazon. And he eventually sold that business for nearly $1 million. Nearly. Not quite. Didn't quite get to that 7-figure there, but nearly got there. And that guy American, Mike Jackness, his LinkedIn is so fascinating, and I didn't screenshot it, but he had a venture back when online poker was a bigger deal. He got together with some buddies, and they started a business, which was basically an affiliate website where they would get people through SEO searches to come onto the website. This is what I sort of understand based on the LinkedIn. But from what I think they did was they got people to come onto their website to sign up for other poker websites. They would get the affiliate referral. But the way they got people to sign up for these poker websites was through offering a free gift. So here, sign up for this poker website and we'll give you, a pack of playing cards, something like that. That is kind of a made up example. I don't know the specifics. But the other thing, eventually Mike got out of the poker biz because that all blew up, and he started doing, he got treadmill.com, which was a drop shipping treadmill business. He sold that, and then he started with some family members, Color It, which was a private label business for color book enthusiasts, adult color book enthusiasts. And he sold that business in 2019. There's other things I'm sure they've been involved in, but those were kind of the big highlights that I came across. And as I said, they are, in their own words, seven-figure guys. And this is a bit convoluted, but long story short, Mike and Dave, they have been partnered up on this website called Ecomcrew.com. And it's basically a guru service for other people who want to be Amazon sellers or eBay sellers or what have you. And you hear this a lot in their podcast. It's all like they have this secret sauce, right? And that's like their premium pay for webinars and such that you can get in and find out the real secrets to their success. It's their secret sauce. Sorry. And I do believe that right now, I gotta get myself arranged for a second. Sorry. It's like there's so many things that I'm juggling with this. So many screens. It's down here though. There, this one. But I do think that this ecomcrew.com website is actually at least Mike Jackness's main focus, which is turning himself into this sort of ecom coach for other ecom sellers. And the reason is that back in 2019, after he sold Color It, he had a podcast episode, which I don't have the audio of, but up on their website is the transcript of it. And in it, he says, let me put that up and I can quote it. I looked into oh, that's the wrong one. I am ahead of myself. I didn't go down the line like I should have. Where is it? I can't find it. I went out of order, and this is what happens. That's okay, I can quote it. I just can't bring it up on screen. But he said in this podcast that his real passion right now, here it is, quote, Ecomcrew is definitely the #1 focus for my work burner. E-commerce crew is what brings all the fulfillment in my life from the work burner. So that is his main focus, I believe, is building up this Ecomcrew guru thing and creating content for it to show here's how successful I am at doing e-commerce. I will tell you all of my secrets. Just pay this premium membership. And you know what? Frankly, fine, whatever. You two want to be Tony Robbins to e-commerce crew. Get on with your motivational speaker within. Okay? There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But it certainly does make for some interesting priorities in terms of how they approach launching a business. Because the thing is, as you're going to see as we go more through this, they tout themselves with their e-commerce crew as being the most transparent with their e-commerce strategies and businesses. And it's true, like it is kind of shocking to me how much information they have out there in the public on their website that anybody who bothers to go look can find. And that is what happened to them with knitting. It's shocking to me almost. But it clearly they're a bit naive thinking that nobody who they're selling stuff to is ever going to bother looking at a e-commerce coaching website to see what all their strategies are and really kind of how insulting it can be. Like, really. But their whole shtick with e-commerce crew is to offer up a bunch of free content, the podcast, blog posts, strategies, and then dangle the carrot of if you want to learn even more, if you want to go even deeper on this, if you want to find out the real secret sauce to what we're doing, join as a premium member and we'll even coach you one-on-one and you can have all these webinars and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, and I think I'm going on about this a little much because I really do think that this is the key to understanding what the heck has happened to them vis-a-vis the knitting world. Let's see, Jillian says, yes, that was the key to their blunder. Their audience, entrepreneur, is not the same as their customer base. They thought the customers wouldn't discover their platform. 100%. I mean, and look, I'm not some genius. I think we all figured that one out really quickly. Saucy. Hello, crowing head. It is saucy. But I want to play you the clip that just makes really clear at the top of their podcast what their real interest and motivation behind knitting.com is. And hopefully this works.
This is a really important episode. Every now and then we start something new, something really big, and we're excited about that. And we're going to be announcing that in this podcast. But it's not going to be just a one-time announcement. We're going to be doing a monthly podcast about this new space that we're getting into in the hobbies and craft niche. And the idea here is that we're going to create something from scratch where you can follow along with us step by step. We've never done anything like this before. We think it's really neat. And starting next week, we're also going to be doing an exclusive secret sauce mini class that's going to be happening every month. We're going to do a deep dive lesson each month into one particular aspect of our new business. And we want to be able to do this so you can apply this to your business too and really scale alongside of us using our content first approach.
Come on, there we go. So yes, right up front in their podcast, they have made clear their goal for knitting.com, which yes, of course they want to make it, a ton of money and sell it for 8 figures and become 8-figure guys. Absolutely. But the real motivation behind it is to have this, and we will delve more into what this content first business approach is in a minute. But it really is to provide content for their e-commerce crew premium membership, which is like, look, we're going to show you, we're going to give you the inside look at how you build your business from scratch, from the very beginning. And look, it's not a bad idea per se in terms of being an Ecomcrew, e-commerce guru. This is a really kind of good way to approach content. Full credit to you for that, you two guys. But their big blunder is they got the website, I think early this year or October. I don't remember the exact timeline, but they get the website and the first thing they do is they put up this podcast to talk about buying the domain name. And it never occurs to them that they're also launching their business. They just think they're launching their Ecomcrew secret sauce knitting.com class. It doesn't occur to them that they might also be launching the website itself. And I mean, it's one of many classic blunders. And this is a good time for me to acknowledge something, which is the podcast. I get it. I get that they are not talking to knitters. I get that they're talking to other entrepreneurs. And I understand that that's why they're talking about some of this stuff in those terms. But if you're going to have these parallel tracks of build a business and sell your coaching and have them connected, I think you got to be a little bit more savvy. You got to be a lot more savvy about how you do that messaging, because YouTube is public, and if you are putting up a public video, anybody can find it. And let me tell you, there's nothing that knitters love more than to find out what is being talked about in the knitting verse. Other than knitting. Obviously, the thing we love most is knitting. But again, as we will find out, these guys have no clue about their customer base when it comes to knitting.com. Like, they had no clue. They found out. Oh, they found out real quick. But boy, they had no clue before they recorded that video/podcast. But that being said, I did want to just acknowledge that, yeah, I get that you weren't filming a commercial for knitters, but it also really shows their true thoughts and their true intentions. And it also, because of that video, like, it has been nearly impossible for them to walk anything back in any sincere way. No sincere way. All right. So with all that, I'm going to start going more into some of the key moments of the podcast. I'm going to just check for comments and questions real quick. Oops. Let's see, Sarah. Also, a lot of FIBE people are in fact entrepreneurs, designers, YouTubers, etc. 100%. I mean, and this is something we will talk about a lot more as we get to that I have a final clip. We're going to be ending with sort of the middle. Just FYI, a couple things about the audio clips I'm going to be playing. They aren't in order of the I'm sorry. They aren't in order of the podcast because I wanted to go through it in a more about in a different progression than how they necessarily talked about the topics. The other thing is you might hear a little golf in the middle of some of the clips, and that was just me indicating that I had an audio edit because I wanted to be transparent about that sort of thing because transparency matters. If I want to go up to this, Man's made it. They are giving no credit to the people they want to get money from. No credit. No credit. I think they just see, if I'm really honest, and I feel like I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I feel like after listening to that Ecomcrew podcast many times and reading through their Ecomcrew website and various other things, I don't even think they see customers. I think they see wallets. I think that's all they see. I think they see keyword searches, Amazon competition, and wallets. I don't even think they see customers. And I mean, in some spaces, like boat anchors, that may not matter. But when you start getting into a craft space, you better know your customers because some crafts are a little bit more individual. They're not as community oriented, but some crafts, like fiber crafts, are very community based. We operate almost like a fandom. If you want to understand the knitting world, think of it like a fandom and how you would approach a fandom if you were wanting to market. You know? Let's see, Sarah's, Sarah, somewhere on Twitter, I don't have the link at hand. There's a yes, I know exactly the one. There's a marketer who's also a knitter and broke the down. Yes, I want to find that Twitter thread as well and link to it later. I didn't bookmark it like a silly person that I am. So, but let's start getting a bit more into the actual podcast. By the way, something else just want to quickly note. As most of you know, because I think a lot of you are here, have been following this yourself, eventually they took down the YouTube video, but the audio from the YouTube video and the podcast are virtually the same, and the podcast is still up on all sorts of places, including Apple, last I checked. So, did that. Okay, so how did these two guys decide on knitting was going to be their next great business success? This was something that was sort of talked about in the podcast, but I don't think they really drilled down on it either. Maybe they were saving that for their secret sauce session. But you can find the answer to it if you go back to the 2019 podcast from Mike Jackness. Like I said before, he had just sold Color It, and he did a podcast talking about what he was looking for in his next business venture. And I'm going to bring up. I just need another screen. There we go. And I highlighted some of he had 10 points basically that he wanted to focus on with this. And I highlighted about half of them, but we're really going to probably just discuss like 2 or 3. But the 5 things that kind of stood out to me in this, like 10 points, was something we can create a lot of content around. Now that doesn't have to do with Ecomcrew. What he meant by create a lot of content around has to do with this content first approach to selling, which we are going to dig in deeper on, because came across things with it that just, I'll say, I had a moment. Let's just say I had a moment last night with my husband where I ranted a bit when I realized what really content first meant. Because I knew, but I didn't know. 5, a product that can be shipped with FedEx, USPS, that's not over 70 pounds. So they wanted something light that'd be easy to ship because both of them have been involved with things like boat anchors and treadmills. So they want something light. And hey, knitting, yarn, no, like you can buy a sweater worth of yarn and it's still not going to reach 70 pounds. Not to say knitters couldn't or crocheters couldn't get there, but it takes a lot of yarn to get to 70 pounds. 7, something that, this was interesting. 7, something that I'm personally passionate about and would be a customer for. That changed because by these two guys' own acknowledgement, they're not knitters. They're not crocheters. They are not hobbyists. In fact, let me go ahead and bring up this now. This is from later on in the podcast, this quote. I looked into getting to something like crocheting, which Dave Bryant was like, that's a slam dunk. We could wreck that. I'm skipping forward a little bit. There's more, but I don't think I'm losing any context by doing that. We could wreck that industry in a positive way for us, but I'm just not passionate. I'm never going to be a customer. I'm never going to be sewing yarn. Sewing yarn, yeah. I know lots of people who love knitting, and I think it's a great hobby. It just isn't something I'm interested in. I have to pause on this because clearly something in their calculus changed from 2019 to 2021 because I don't think they're still passionate. I don't think they found some passion for knitting or crochet or yarn. I mean, they barely know the difference. They're like we all know that a lot of non-fiber people don't know the difference between knit and crochet. Like we all accept this, right? But sewing yarn. By the way, I have to give a shout out to Kathleen Sperling for pointing the way to this transcript because I found it because she tweeted about it. So thank you, Kathleen, for your many contributions to today's live stream. So yeah, but you know, it was a 10-point list. Maybe you just can't hit all your points and you decide passion isn't the most important thing. Maybe the weight of the product matters more to you. But 8, a product that has a good lifetime value and there's a repeat purchase for it. And that makes total business sense. I get that point. You know, it's much easier to maintain a business if you have people who constantly come back to purchase goods again. If you have a consumable item, they talked about this in the podcast, having consumable items. And we will be listening to, I believe we'll be listening to a clip later that goes a little bit deeper on that. And 10, a business that will make great content for e-commerce crew. So from the very beginning, the plan has always been for them to have a business that they could talk about with their premium membership. And I guess knitting just ticked most of their boxes. Not all of their boxes, not all of them, but they ticked enough of their boxes that they decided, yep, this is the way to go. This is the way to go. Let's build a knitting content website so we can sell people stuff, knitting and crocheting stuff on Amazon. So, okay. So, but I want to focus on number 5, the content first approach to the business, because this is where it started to get into some things that I just felt was like, I don't know about these two yo-yos. I really don't know. And we're going to play this second clip now.
And something like knitting, this niche has pretty much a bottomless pit of content available to write. I think this is where, again, the content first approach starts, where you start writing content towards like beginning knitting stuff. They find you, you help them, they like your page, you pixel them, you get their email address, you start giving them like a free plus shipping offer, you give them some initial get started on knitting products. They circle back around and give you user generated content and become kind of a brand loyalist over time. And this cycle kind of repeats itself and builds, kind of like an avalanche going downhill, but you're going uphill, and it gets easier and easier as you go along the way. And
Yeah.
it fits all those things. I just said a lot, but it fits all that, which is hard to find.
Let's just soak it in for a moment, shall we? Shall we just soak it in for a moment? The absurdity of all this. So, I mean, to just, if in case not all of that was clear, to summarize, this content first approach is basically to create a website, which I think of as a content trap, which is like, we're a big advertisement, but we're not going to look like a big advertisement. Instead, we're going to give you how-tos and reviews, and in that, you'll see a little ad that's like, just, you can get this little doodad for free. Just pay some shipping. And yeah, isn't that cool? And now you've got their email address and you've built your list. And now you can just start peppering them with emails and marketing. They're going to come back to you for more great info and more deals. And oh, look, here's this great product we found. Here, go to the Amazon store, purchase it, right? That's what they mean by this content first approach. And one of the things that really, well, no, I'm going to just say it now. The thing that I hate about it, and it's a thing that, one of the many things that bothers me about this whole endeavor, is that they're targeting new knitters. This kind of website, it's never going to like take off with the knitting community because we have experience and we don't go to Amazon to buy things. They're purposely going after the new knitter who's looking for information on how to knit and like enticing them in with content so that they can then just start selling to them and shilling to them. And it's just, I get it. I get that this is a very common marketing ploy. I understand why it works. I understand why it's done. What I don't like is when there's a lack of transparency about it. And that is going to get us into what I want to dive a little bit deeper on, because I think this is a really good example of how they use, or at least one of them, Mike Jackness uses, this content first approach. But before we do, let me just check through comments and questions. Let's see. Yes. Jillian, I've been doing it all wrong. I've been using knitting yarn when I should have been sewing yarn. Kathleen, in my not so humble opinion, right? If you don't know how to do proper market research into your intended industry and you don't know how to grab the handles on all the social media channels the second you buy the DNS, right? What Kathleen is referring to here is they bought knitting.com, but they didn't get knitting.com Twitter handle. They didn't get the Instagram. I don't know if they got the Facebook or not. And at this point, other knitters have gone and they've taken those handles, so they can't even have those handles now. Are you even really an expert in the e-commerce field? Right? Right? Yeah. I'm wondering if they thought none of the tech bro brothers would view knitting as a threat to their own e-com. How threatening can grandmas with blogs be? Yeah, We're going to dig a bit more into that because they do talk about competition and what they see as their competition and why knitting.com was attracted to them because of competition. So we are going to get into that. So the thing that I want to take a closer look at is this content first approach. And at least one instance, I'm not going to claim that this is indicative of every instance that they've done this, but it is, I think, a good case study of how at least Mike Jackness has used this content first approach. And I want to give a little bit of a content warning here because we're going to be looking at a website called tactical.com. And it is a website that is geared towards preppers. If you don't know what preppers are, these are people who prepare for basically, fall of civilization. It can be a little dark. It can be a bit dark. But it is a really good sort of case study in what these guys, or at least one of these guys, does with this content first approach. Oops, wrong one. Add this to the stream. There we go. So this is the website, tactical.com. And just so you know, I am on an incognito, incognito window on Chrome looking at this. I have tried to avoid clicking or going into their links as much as possible, but I had to research it, and that required clicking on some links. But I clicked on these so you don't have to. But this is the beginning of their page. Learn, plan, prepare, survive. It has a little opening blurb, which we will look at more closely in a minute. But you scroll down and look, you can give them your email and get a free guide to, how to prepare for emergencies. Get that email address, get that email marketing going. I know you guys. I know you two dudes, if you're watching this, you might be a little surprised that, someone with a little granny YouTube knows what an email marketing is, but I got skills. Anyway, you go down, you get this ad, let's go down. You get this ad. This is the free plus shipping offer to try to, again, get you into buying their products, trying their products. Most importantly, getting that email address. And then you get all their content. How to survive, how to prepare for a coronavirus pandemic, top 17 survival and prepping blogs to read. What are the best entrenching tools for backpacking and survival? Everything you want. How-to guides, reviews, etc., etc., etc. So that's the website. But the thing is that they're not transparent about is what this website really is, because this website really is a big marketing tool. It's a big advertisement. But let's take a closer look at what they say to preppers and survivalists who would find this website by doing a search for whatever their SEO is. Add to stream. There we go. We're all about helping you get prepared to survive when SHTF, that's when the S hits the fan. That's when civilization falls, basically. Tactical.com is your #1 resource for information and how-to guides for beginner and experienced preppers alike. Find out what tools, gear, and skills you need, how to use them, and get yourself prepared for anything. Our authoritative guides will help you plan to survive the first 72 hours of an emergency and beyond. In red, our mission to help you prepare is community funded. We earn small commissions from affiliate links. Thank you for your support. What's not clear, well, I'll get to that in a second. Next, I want to point out the next bit of text in terms of their affiliate link disclosure is down at the bottom of this first page. Not that one, this one. And this might be a little harder to read. Let me see if I can bump that up a little bit. Affiliate disclosure. Tactical.com receives compensation from affiliate partners for placing links to their products on our website. Tactical.com receives compensation for linking to these products, and sometimes this influences our decision on what products we recommend or link to. Okay, that seems fairly transparent, right? Right? That sounds pretty transparent. They use affiliate links. They admit that their use of affiliate links influences what they recommend. Well, I've gone through some of their guides, their recommendations, and every time that there is a product by a particular company called Tech9, number 9, Tech9er, it is their number one recommendation. And you can click on it almost every time, and you click on that affiliate link to Amazon, and it takes you to that Tech9er product. Guess who owns Tech9er? Mike Jackness owns Tech9er. So, to be clear, what they're doing with Tactical.com is they're saying, we're just a guide. They're implying that we're community funded, which, okay, I guess that's technically true. They are community funded by these survivalists who go on their website and click on affiliate link knowing it's an affiliate link and purchase something and they get the commission. I guess that means, but I think that it's pretty, in my opinion, misleading. That's the word we're going to go through. It's misleading. They're misleading the prepper community, but also, and maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm missing it. Maybe I'm just a granny with a YouTube channel. But it is not clear on their website at all that Tactical.com is really an extension of Tech9er. It is Tactical.com. I looked it up. Tactical.com. It's registered to Terran Marketing. That is Mike Jackness's company. And Tech9er is owned by Mike Jackness. So it's all just one big thing, but they're obfuscating that fact, right? But here's the craziest part about it. On Ecomcrew.com, they totally admit all this. On Ecomcrew.com, do I have this up next? Yes, I do. Haha. It's like I did an outline and I organized it. On Ecomcrew.com, they have a blog post about how to create killer content for your e-commerce site. And they use Tactical.com as their case study of how to do it. And in that article even, they talk about using, this is what they say: review articles help you build trust with your audience and establish yourself as a reliable content site that they can come to when they need information. If you've got an Amazon associate account, you can even make a little money on the side with affiliate sales. So they're basically like double dipping with this. And they're telling other people to do, am I heard? Oh, I didn't realize. I hope you heard all that. But yeah, they're basically double dipping. Telling all these guys, telling their ecom crew, like, yeah, set up a content website, do reviews, set up a little side hustle with your affiliate links. It's, in my opinion, my not so humble opinion, shady. Shady, shady, McShady, shady. McShady, shady. Jillian says, oh, doll is coming and going, income in an infinite loop, right? Gotta have that hustle. Gotta have that hustle. Jillian Eve, I thought business relationships for reviewed products were supposed to be disclosed. I thought so too. I thought so too. I don't know. Maybe they think that it's enough for them to say that they're affiliate links. And I don't know. I don't know. I think that I just don't know. But this is the thing that I just thought was so ironic when I read through their blog post on ecomcrew.com about tactical.com being a content first site for their marketing. Make sure I'm up there on camera as well. Um, First rule of content creation, you have to know who you're talking to. Based on our experiences, brands who don't know their audience become the toughest ones to market to. So it's crucial that you know your audience. If you try to cater to everyone, your message will get lost. That being said, don't need to read the rest. I mean, they broke their own rule. They broke their own rule of know your audience. I think we all need a moment to savor the irony. Oh my god. Gen X, that's made for us. We are the generation of irony that was like just made for us. Oh, I burst out laughing. Too bad they didn't follow their own advice, right? I mean, look, let's be fair. By the time they got around to creating content for knitting.com, they would have figured out their audience, maybe. They have said several times, well, they said in the podcast, I don't have this clip, but they said in the podcast they already hired somebody, a knitter, to work with to build knitting.com. They said in a blog post where they do a brand report on their website, and in the brand report they talked about having their first hire for knitting.com as well. So I mean, obviously their plan was always to have people who are knowledgeable about knitting produce content for their website who would know the audience, but they really put the cart before the horse. By putting up this YouTube page. First of all, they put the cart before the horse by buying knitting.com before they clearly had not researched their market enough at all. Because if they had, they would have known, like, knitters do not play, and knitters have been on the internet since at least 1995. And I say that because 1995 is when Webs bought the domain yarn.com. We may be grannies, but we are grannies who have grown up with the internet. Julian Eve, I suppose business practices can be legal but still not be ethical. Yeah, there's a lawful but not, no, lawful but awful. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if for knitting.com, they would have employed all these exact same tactics in terms of having a content website. I don't know if they would have obfuscated, I hope I said that correctly and I'm using correctly, obfuscated the connection between knitting.com and the Amazon store the way, to me, it appears that it is with tactical.com. Again, I have to allow space that I am misinterpreting, missing some information, glanced over some disclosure that I'm just not aware of. But when I went through and looked at tactical.com, it was not immediately apparent to me that Tech9er is owned by the same people. It was not immediately apparent to me. Yes, Sarah Dawn. I recently found that out too. I didn't realize that Webs was that old, but Knitty Mag has been around since 2002 too. Yes, Knitty Mag has been around for a long time now. Like, I think one thing that's really, Samantha, also now they can put the, that's right, they cannot put it, and they can't make it smell like roses either. I think this is something that has to do with the stereotypes around knitters. Like, people have this image in their head of knitters being, doesn't matter what era it is, knitters being women who are older and out of touch and really old-fashioned. And I think when you have that image in your head of who a knitter is, you really underestimate how tech-savvy knitters actually are. All right? The knitting community online has been one of the most organized and active from the jump. Back when blogs were a much bigger deal, knitters had some of the most active blogs on the web. I mean, it's just, again, not taking the time to figure out who your customer is. Sarah Dawn, the knitters found The Wayback Machine. Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. Just stroll. Who is that knitter? They refuse to say. Yes, yes, very true. Is it because it's one of their grannies with a blog or an actual name knitter who refuses to identify with them? I have no idea. I have wondered myself. I do tend to think that they have hired someone. I believe them. Um, I mean, I think these guys, personally, this is my personal opinion, based on what I've seen, I think, they're salesmen. There's always a certain amount of BS artistry with salesmen. And I say this as someone who comes from a long line of salesmen. My dad was a salesman. My grandfather was a salesman. My uncle is a I've got so many salesmen in my family. Like, so, uh, and there's always some BS artistry to the job. Um, there just is. Sarah, I'm just worried they hired a friend or relative who may not be the most experienced. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who the person is. This is what I do know. I didn't clip this out from the podcast, but they did talk about in the podcast one of the reasons they really wanted this domain, knitting.com, was they felt like it gave them instant credibility so that when they would reach out to influencers, people be like, oh, you bought knitting.com, you're serious about this. I'm summarizing. And they said, like, this helped them with their first hire. So, yeah. But who that person is, I don't know. They say there's someone in Portland. But regardless, whoever that person is, I don't think at this point is going to be able to save the brand, because it's kind of amazing how quickly you can trash a brand, and they trashed a brand so very, very quickly with that podcast. And again, because they just didn't think that anybody would pay attention to it. Okay, whew, sorry, I gotta scroll down. I think I hit everything. It does blow my mind though that there is a blog post on their website that details how they do Tech Niner. Oh, something I want to just real quick before I move on. I did want to point out that tactical.com is Mike Jackness's website, and I don't believe that Dave Bryant, that guy Canadian, is directly involved with it. His name isn't on. I looked up Tech Niners LLC, and he's not. And that guy Canadian is not listed as an officer for the company. Dave Bryant has his own content trap website. That's my term, by the way. Content trap website called offroader.com. And what I saw from Offroader, it's a bit more transparent about its link to the Amazon store. Like offroader.com has a logo, and if you click on a link, it takes you to the Amazon product, and you see that same logo there. So it's much more apparent that offroader.com and Offroader Amazon store are connected and one and the same. Tech Niner and tactical.com, it seems like there's a bit more obfuscation occurring. But yeah, I just wanted to point that out about that difference. There's something else I really wanted to touch on, and this was something that Jillian Eve, myself, and a couple other people were talking about, I think this morning, about affiliate links, which is, I use affiliate links. I don't have a problem with somebody necessarily using affiliate links. Affiliate links for small creators can be helpful, maybe not bringing in a ton of revenue, but they can be helpful in terms of trying to cover expenses. I think the thing about affiliate links, though, is that the two keys to them is you have to be, one, transparent. And by transparent, I mean transparent all the way down. Turtles all the way down, transparency all the way down, being This is an affiliate link. This is who I'm affiliated with. Oh, I'm talking about how much I like this about Nitpicks. I should mention that I am an affiliate of Nitpicks, just so you know. Even if I'm not giving you an affiliate link in that moment, just so you understand that that's what's going on. There just has to be transparency about it, because if one of my viewers clicks on one of my affiliate links and they make a purchase and I get a commission and they were going to make that purchase anyway, it is kind of a win-win. They get a product that they were planning to get anyway, and I'm able to get a small, and it is small, commission that does help like me buy yarn for my video demonstration. So it can be a win-win. But again, transparency. I think the other thing with affiliate links is you have to have integrity with them. Like, it's very important for me personally that if I'm recommending a product, it's a product that I could stand behind 100%. And even if I am an affiliate of a website, that doesn't mean I'm going to recommend every one of their products. Like Knitpicks. I've been using Knitpicks yarn since 2002. Right? Knitpicks has been around for a long time. When I was like, young, early 20s, trying to break into Hollywood, Knitpicks was an affordable way for me to get yarn. I'm a longtime Knitpicks user. I got a lot of Wool of the Andes in my stock. I have no problem recommending Wool of the Andes to other knitters. By the way, before I forget, Wool of the Andes having a flash sale. I'm sorry, Knitpicks is having a flash sale for Wool of the Andes. Today is your last day to take part in it. If you want to, I'll put a link in the description box. But, gotta get that plug in. But, I don't recommend everything by Knitpicks. I have a set of Knitpicks interchangeable crochet hooks. I've had 2 of them that I've had to repair. I no longer recommend those interchangeable crochet hooks. Not only do I no longer recommend them, when I stopped recommending them, I told my viewers about it, and when it comes up, I tell them about my experience. You have to have integrity. And when people like Mike Jackness, Ecom, and by that I just mean Ecom entrepreneurs, treat affiliate links like a little side hustle that you can sort of like skirt around the edges of ethics with, it gives all of us who try to use affiliate links to try to keep our passions going, it hurts all of us. And this is one of the things that really ticks me off about all of this is it's just the cynicism, the sheer cynicism of what it is that they're doing. Or at least what appears to me, that's my opinion, but it appears to be very cynical to me. That's my take. Let's see, what does Jillian say? Or were someone actually plugged into the community who thought they might have a real opportunity to do something before all the rest of it blew up? Yep. Jillian Eve, and who may not have realized that what was really going on. They may be feeling deep regret right now. Oh, yes, I see. You're talking about whomever it is they hired. I agree. And that's why it's like, I kind of don't want to know who they hired, because frankly, I am going to guess that if they are an experienced knitter and they are plugged into the community, that they know what's going on in terms of the fallout of what's going on. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they thought that these 2 guys were sincere in what they were doing. But I mean, that is the major problem with them, the 2 guys, is they are so inauthentic when it comes to this stuff. And it's on full display. But it's on full display because it never occurred to them that anybody in the knitting community would ever find this YouTube video, even though it was public on YouTube. And like, yeah. I'm very curious about whoever came across it, how they came across it, by the way. I'm very curious about that. Oh man, I knew this was gonna run late. So like I said, I don't know for sure that those 2 guys' plan for knitting.com is going to follow the exact same formula that is used for tactical.com, but I do think that it's a good example of how in the gray areas, in my opinion, this sort of content marketing can go. And I don't even necessarily have a problem with the idea of content first marketing if you're transparent about it. Like, look, you get this in the established knitting brands. They have this. Webs, they have tutorials on Webs. They have video support on Webs. Pearl Soho, Wool in the Gang, We Are Knitters. They have YouTube videos. They do those YouTube videos not just to help knitters learn how to knit or learn a certain skill. It is to help drive traffic to their website for sales, but it's transparent. Said that. We went over that. Okay, so we already talked about that. Skipping past. We're going to just skip past that for now. Because it's getting late. I'm kind of like mentally right now editing myself a little bit. Oh, yeah. So we're going to get down to products because I want to talk a little bit about this just so we can kind of understand a little bit about their view of creating a great product and what that means, or at least suss out what that could mean, because when things blew up, and they blew up spectacularly, like Twitter was on fire. Knitting Twitter was on fire about these two guys. And Dave, that Canadian guy, he came on to a particular Twitter feed and said, hey, I'm Dave from, the two dudes. And I can see that this is, I'm summarizing here. I can see that you're really protective and, it must feel some kind of way about two guys kind of coming into your territory. Which was so sexist, right? Because it was like, oh, we understand the little women are upset the men have kind of come into their lounge, but really, no. The issue isn't that you're two men. There's lots of men who knit. There's lots of straight men who knit. Okay? There's lots of people who knit who are not women. We were upset because you didn't take the time to get to know knitters before you came stomping into our playground. That being said, one of the things that were like, how do you plan to, basically get us to trust you? And he's like, well, again, I'm summarizing from memory, so take this for what it's worth. But he was like, basically like, well, we think you're going to love our patterns and buy our products. And the reason I kind of have to laugh about this, it's like, what in the fibercraft space do you think you're going to create in 12 and be able to put on the shelves so that you're getting to $80,000 a month by February 2023 that's going to be so original? Because knitting as a craft has been around not just for hundreds of years, it's been around for centuries. What is it that you're going to create, right? And I came across this again on their website, Ecomcrew, about kind of their view of how you make a great product, how you find your niche. It's niche. If you guys are watching, it's niche and chasm. Okay? It's niche, not niche. Niche. Had to get that off my chest. So they have a blog post about how to find the right product to sell on Amazon, and this is their advice on doing something they call incremental differentiation. So have to laugh again. How to easily differentiate your products. There are some very easy ways to physically differentiate a product with incremental product improvements. These ways include: make it in a different color, make it in different sizes, bundle it with accessories, sell it in a multi-pack item, make it out of a different material. For example, thicker rubber, dramatically improve the packaging. So their idea of making a great product, the thing they're really great at is making great products, is packaging, color, slightly different material. I mean, really, do these guys really think they're going to compete with Clover? Do they know who Clover is? I would think so. I would hope they would know who Clover is, considering they would have seen Clover all over the place when they went to Joann's for their market research. That's where that photo was taken. Right? Now, in the podcast, they did say that they hope to eventually sell yarn. What are they going to do with yarn that's going to be so different from what they find at Joann's? Or is it just that they're going to do a better job of selling this stuff on Amazon? And ding, 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 my personal opinion, I think that's really what they're talking about. We're going to make this just different enough from the listings that are already on Amazon to stand out, that we're going to be able to sell the same stuff in a different color, in a better pack, whatever. I mean, it's just, it makes me sit there and go, what were you researching? Because if you did a thorough research of the products before you bought the website, I would think you would have some idea of what kind of products you could fit into that would make you stand out from all the other products manufactured in China that are sold on Amazon. I mean, it's just like, how are you going to compete with Spin Right on yarn? Right? Like, how? I just don't even, it blows my mind. It just blows my mind. Oh, wait, maybe you could be offered a different colors. What a revolutionary idea. Wow, so I get my US2 DPNs in walnut and bundled with knitting yarn? Well, take my money, right? And let's be honest, isn't that what Wool and the Gang and We Are Knitters and Tom Daly's knit kits is all about? Is not acrylic yarn, it's much better yarn, it's at least, wool, and that is not a knock against acrylic. I think we all should hopefully know by now that I do not knock acrylic. Acrylic has its space, right? But it is like, but that is their thing with new knitters, is like, hey, we'll give you everything you need to start a project for the first time. And look, I was very critical of Tom Daly and his website and those kits. I was very critical, but at least Tom Daly is actually a part of the community. Oh my god, it just kills me. I gotta get back over to this. Okay, make sure where I am. So check. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent there and lost my place for a second. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't think products was really having a great idea for some product that's really going to be great for knitters is really the reason that they landed on knitting. I think it had more to do with the space that they thought they could carve out for themselves on Amazon with selling the products that we are all very familiar with, because there are only so many knitting products out there. And that leads to the next clip I'm going to play.
You also talked about competition. That was a big one for me as well. So from a product perspective, okay, if you go into Amazon, is it littered with Chinese competitors who have fairly highly optimized listings? Because there are a lot of categories on Amazon where people hate to admit it, but the Chinese sellers actually do a really good job on their listings. Mm-hmm. Now, for knitting, hopefully there's nobody from China listening right now, but they all do a terrible job. And it's two factors. Number one, just I don't think knitting's a big thing in China, like a lot of Asia, as we're discovering as we're trying to get VAs for our new company. But also creating the content and the imagery and the videos for a knitting brand as somebody based in China is a little bit trickier, because as we all know, you can't really have Chinese models in your videos. There's a bias towards, having Western models in videos and having those Western models in content.
There's a lot to unpack there. It's one of those clips that every time I listen to it, I just sit there and like, there's obviously, when he talks about using Chinese models and a bias towards Western models, it's incredibly cringy, it's incredibly problematic, and there's so much to unpack there. But I also think it's such utter codswallop. Because, and by that I mean it just shows their biggest single blunder, well, one of their many blunders these two have fallen into, which is they never thought about, well, why haven't these Chinese sellers who are so good not cracked into selling knitting stuff on Amazon? Because if they've done their research into the products, they would know that a great deal of knitting tools and knitting notions are in fact manufactured in China. And some of the major brands, Ecomcrew, Clover, are Chinese companies. You really think that Chinese sellers couldn't figure out a way to market those things on Amazon effectively? I mean, it's like, did they not ask themselves that question? Why? Why is it that Chinese sellers, that knitting listings on Amazon isn't as competitive as, say, Amazon listings for fishing rods and lures, which is another niche that they looked into? Sorry, gotta get to the correct screen again. There we go. But yeah, they never seem to ask themselves why knitters aren't on Amazon. Especially because, I'm going to play another clip right now, especially because they believe that crafters, knitters in particular, just love buying widgets and gadgets for their craft. Oops, come on. Oh, come on. You're screwing up my rhythm here. Stop misbehaving, mouse. There we go. Next clip.
If you're starting from scratch and you can pick the perfect niche in e-commerce, what does that look like? And so for me, that's something that it's a consumable item, right? So you think about knitting yarn is going to be our consumable item that we will eventually launch. Every time someone starts knitting, they're using it up, they got to buy more. The tools and the accessories that go with knitting are almost consumable to the fact that you're satisfying their insatiable appetite for their craft. A lot of crafters and knitters in particular always want some new widget or tool for their craft.
Look, I'll be the first one to say that I love knitting needles, and I buy so many knitting needles, right? So many knitting needles. But I buy quality knitting needles. Not just any knitting needle will do. And I feel like that's true of so many things when it comes to the knitting space and the crochet space, which is we're actually really picky about the notions and the tools and the supplies that we buy for our craft because we are so passionate about our craft. Like, it's like, I love my, like, I can tell you why I prefer one stitch marker over another. Like, and you know who makes the best plastic locking stitch markers is Clover. And by the way, I made a mistake, and thank you, Jillian, for pointing this out. Clover Takumi needles are Japanese, so that is a Japanese company. It's not a Chinese company. But Chiagu is a Chinese company. So Thank you for correcting me. I did get that wrong. So yes, but I mean, it's just, we're picky. We're picky about the materials that we knit with. Like, you know, and it's all a matter of personal preference, and you're not even going to understand how to talk about that if you're only looking at SEO searches and wandering the aisles of a Joann's. Like, because all they're really looking at is SKUs. They're just looking at how many products can we get in our catalog. We want at least 12. We can have 12 products here. Okay, great. We're ready to go. Sarah Dawn. Yes, I'm super picky about my crochet hooks. I've had too many that make my hand hurt. Absolutely. Absolutely. Even with crochet hooks, there's a subtle difference. It's not even subtle. There's an important difference between a straight neck crochet hook and then the more tapered end crochet hook. Like, do you think those guys know this? Now, allegedly, they're going to hire people who will let them know these things. But it's just, again, though, it's their number one mistake, their number one blunder is that they don't know their customer base, and they didn't take the time to learn about their customer base before they even, at least the way it appears to me, before they even bought the domain. They were just like, I'm guessing, I don't know for sure. I'm speculating there. Although Mike Jackness had been interested in this knitting.com domain since 2019. He talks about in the podcast in various places, he talked about reaching out to the owner of knitting.com back in 2019 to try to purchase it. So this was something that he's been looking at for a while. And yet, looking at it for 2 years, they never researched the customer base. And they never, when they did start doing research, they didn't ask themselves the basic question, which is, why is nobody dominating this space on Amazon? It's just like the utter arrogance of it. And I guess that's the thing, that one of the many things that bothers me is just the utter arrogance of two, all right, this might be getting a little personal now, but two mediocre white guys, their utter arrogance to think that they somehow have outsmarted everybody in realizing like, oh, I know how we can make an 8-figure business off selling knitting supplies on Amazon. No one else has figured it out. We got the code. We know how to do it. No one else has figured it out, that it's patterns and how-tos. Like luring in new people into knitting. Jeez Louise. Crowing hand, that's because no one ever thought to dominate that space on Amazon before. They are the first ones to think this up, right? Such explorers. They're like the oh gosh, I'm totally blanking. I'm trying to think of the explorers who went across America. Lewis and Clark. There we go. They're the Lewis and Clark of knitting and crochet. And they're totally forgetting that, you know, there's been a whole Native American population, and they're gonna just hire somebody to help them through those lands. Okay, I hope that wasn't a problematic metaphor I just went into. I did not plan it. Oh yeah, that's true. I'm sorry, I gotta pause for this, because this was funny. In a very cringy sort of way. Sarah Dawn, two white guys who needed to know they were straight. Yeah, because like you see it in a couple different places where it's almost like this, like, we know we're just two straight white guys. We're not the picture of knitters. Like, us straight guys. We're straight guys, okay? We're straight guys. Because we would never be interested in knitting. Not unless our 6-year-old daughter got into it. And then as a dad, like me because I'm a dad with a daughter. Take me seriously now. I'm authentic. Yeah, Sacagawea. Like, Sacagawea, by the way, saved Lewis and Clark. But knitters will not be saving Mike and Dave. Won't be happening. Like, they blew the brand. They screwed up their brand day one. Didn't even know they were falling into it. But yeah, they never seem to ask themselves why knitters don't appear to be... Oh, I said that already. Okay. So I did want to... The thing is that they did sort of kind of went off on a tangent, but I'm circling back now to it. They did ask themselves why there's such low competition on Amazon for the knitting supply niche. I'm emphasizing that for whomever could stumble upon this one day. And oh, I'm clicking around. I need to just go right here. Okay. So I'm gonna play another clip.
And the interesting thing in this space is that there are actually other channels that exist for selling products outside of Amazon and your own website. And we were shocked. We were trying to figure out, okay, well, where are people buying their knitting yarn from? And there exists actually a couple different websites, which are not Amazon, which are not even your own direct website, where the majority of knitting products are sold in a couple of really niche marketplaces, which have kind of occupied this whole niche of knitting. And it was really fascinating to see that people are actually buying a lot of the products outside of Amazon and outside of direct websites. And I think maybe in another secret sauce mini class, we'll get into that a little bit more about how we found these marketplaces. But it was fascinating to kind of learn that, yeah, there are niches where Amazon does not control the world.
They're gonna let you know in a secret sauce how they were so genius at finding these hidden, like, marketplaces for the, hidden gem of the knitting niche. Guys, I'm gonna ruin that secret sauce for you right now. Google yarn. Google yarn. You will find the hidden marketplaces of webs, hobby, Jimmy Bean's wool, Lovecrafts, all the independent sellers on Etsy, local yarn stores who sell online. And even though, so they were aware of these secret marketplaces that only knitters know about. They found us, guys, they found us. And yet they still thought, man, but for a beginner, I think we can get at those beginning knitters, because there's no way a beginning knitter would ever figure this out. Right? Even Ravelry. Thank you. How can I forget Ravelry, the website we do not talk about, but still. Oh my God, it's so funny. It is funny. I mean, it's infuriating, but it is hysterical at the same time. Like, but this is gonna lead us. Okay, so we're now gonna go into the clip, because I do think it's tied to this thing, right? Like the secret marketplaces, that really made my blood boil. It has been alluded to earlier in the live stream and comments. I probably have alluded to it at some point. But it is the clip. This is the clip from the podcast that makes my blood boil every time I hear it. And it's the clip that I think probably motivated the most why this blew up so big on Twitter, and why these two guys, I think, will be nearly impossible for them to salvage this brand, this business for themselves. So let's just play it. Let's just play it.
I think the content competition kind of landscape fits into one of two categories. There's the very, very high quality competitors who are, probably number in the low dozens, maybe even under 10. And these are big mammoth companies who do a pretty good job with their content. And then everyone else is like grandma, who has a little blog that she's run for the last 20 years and she puts up a piece of content every few weeks or every few months. And it's pretty unsophisticated competitors. But there's this big chasm where you have these big guys and these small guys, but there's really nobody in between, like kind of these small to medium-sized businesses who are doing a good job of content. So I think that's a big opportunity in terms of competition, and that kind of laneway for us is to be kind of that middle guy who's a little bit more nimble and can put out content that's a little bit more approachable than the big guys, and also better than Granny.
Better than Granny is got a little clip there at the end. Better than Granny. So yeah, that's it. That is the clip that still makes me upset. Still makes me like blood. It's so insulting.
Who's had her blog for the last 20 years.
Oh, there. Okay. It's so insulting. It's so infuriating to me. It's so disrespectful on so many levels. These guys really, really came into this, did like the bare amount of research into the knitting world, and specifically the knitting world online, and drew a lot of wrong conclusions. So many wrong conclusions, and insulted us in the process. And I'm not even talking about calling us grannies, okay? It's the sexism and the ageism of the comment that upsets me, because it is like, once again, here's another white dude, middle-aged white dude, walking in to disparage a woman because she might have hit menopause and discount everything she might have done on the internet to help people learn how to do this crap. Doesn't matter. They're just my competition. They're just my competition. They don't matter. They're just an old woman who thinks who's insignificant. Just a little whatever. The people, not just women, not just men, not just people who have been knitting year after year, decade after decade, for centuries, is why the knitting community thrives today online. Okay? There was a big knitting revival in the United States in the early 2000s. And part of that is because of the online community. Those blogs, those 20-year-old blogs you're disparaging, is why there is even a market for you to look at. All right? And most of those blogs were started by people in their 30s and 20s. You know, there's something that was pointed out that's been talked about, which is knitting is a craft that is handed down person to person. We learn it from one person to another. I wouldn't say it's exactly an unbroken chain, because there have been times in history where knitting has dipped in popularity and times when it's become more popular, but it is one that has been maintained by one person teaching another person how to do it. Now we're doing it on the internet, and we're able to reach more people than we've ever been able to reach. I mean, my channel's a little channel on the YouTube landscape. Very Pink Knits has been doing this for a long time. She has 700 videos on YouTube. She has taught so many people how to knit. That's who these guys are calling an insignificant grandma, you know? And it's because they don't understand that. It's because they don't understand the community and the traditions and how this is all done, that these guys think that they're going to stumble into some genius thing that nobody else has thought of. You know? And the fact that, and by the way, as, and I gotta find this and link to it, but as somebody pointed out on Twitter, there absolutely are mid-sized businesses in the fiber space who are the real engines behind this craft. It is a billion-dollar industry. This is a billion-dollar industry. You really think there aren't mid-sized people that you're going to be competing against? Come on now. It's disrespectful. It's just disrespectful. And don't get me wrong, I'm not naive, okay? I know that there's a lot of people who are in this business, who are in the yarn business, who are in the craft business, who are suits. They're not like, you know, mom and pop. They're not even middle. They don't even care about us on a personal level, you know, but they're still servicing our community well enough And these two guys think they're going to walk in and say stuff like that, and we're never going to hear it, and they can just sell their coaching business to their ecom crew. And then when they are found out, they think they're going to be able to walk it back. Like, it's just ridiculous. So that was my rant. That's my rant about it. I've been storing that up for the last couple days for this moment. Let me sweep back through comments. Local yarn shops, LYSs. Look, let's be honest. It has been a tough economy for LYSs for a long time. And this is something else I think that's so like amazing to me. I don't think these guys realize that the profit margin on yarn is so slim. Top down, making a profit on selling yarn is slim margins. Same thing with all those widgets and doodads, whatever it is they're planning to sell, whatever they think that product catalog looks like. These are not big margins. Red Heart, Lion Brand. Yeah. I mean, it's just crowing hen. Yes, it's been great laughing watching the drama that surrounds knitting.com. I mean, look, they've provided some entertainment. Thank you for the entertainment. I am entertained. I mean, I do adore my LYS. Oh, and I've recently found a new LYS that I need to explore once there's everything happening. And, you know, kill mode enabled. Crowing hen, secret sauce lesson 2, how not to market research. Well, that's the thing. I don't think these guys' idea of using knitting.com was meant to showcase how not to launch a business, but boy, has it turned into it. Sarah Dawn, yep, that's the direct insult to so many people I know in the industry. Jillian Eve, I feel sad for the man's grandmother, the disrespect, right? And Mike Jackness, in his one quote, he said like his mother-in-law, I think mother-in-law or his mother knits. Like, and you know what? Well, I'll get to that in a second. Let me finish your comments. Grrr, yes, grrr. Just stroll. If your launch was an example of being nimble, Sarah Dawn. I mean, there are so many small and medium-sized business owners who are so ignored by what they just said. Oh, absolutely. But you know what? Part of the reason I think they were even missed is because all these guys were looking at was Amazon, Shopify stores. I mean, they're just looking at the one little corner of the internet, and they're so narrow-minded. And I only mean that in the sense of like their point of view is so narrow. It's like they have this thing that they do, they feel like they've had success with it, and that they can just apply this secret sauce to whatever niche they find. It's niche, and it's chasm. And they're gonna like, boom, success. And look, I'm sure they're not total yahoos. I'm sure that they know that anytime you start a business, it's a risk. I'm sure they know that they could fall flat on their face. I don't think they expected to fall flat on their face like this. But, and I know that I'm sure they feel like they have to project a certain inevitability in their own success, even to try to create the content that they want to create for their premium members. But, I mean, again, it goes back to the same thing. You are putting this out in public on the interwebs. You always kind of assume that somebody you may not think would listen in. Let's see. Crowing hen. In Canada, the yarn craft space grows by at least 10% per year for at least the 12 years. I imagine it's growing even faster in the US. I mean, you know, I think again, you know, there are cycles that seem to go on in terms of the resurgence of fiber crafts and yarn crafts and knitting in particular, but crochet as well. And in the early 2000s, there was a big resurgence of knitting in the United States that was very much driven by the book Stitch and Bitch by Debbie Stoller, who was a knitter who understood this community. And then really the mantle was carried forward with everything that went on with online, between yarn becoming more easily available online with places like KnitPicks and Webs selling their yarn. I mean, look, Webs has been in business for a very long time. Very long time. And like I said, but in 1994, they saw the writing on the wall and they started their online store. or 1995, and they snapped up that domain name. And last year they sold themselves to Lovecrafts. Lovecrafts is a recent entry into this space. And they are buying up brands like there is no tomorrow, by the way. Which I'm sure is all stuff that these two yokels don't even know about. Let's see. Got to drop for a 5 p.m. Thank you so much for being here, Kathleen. Sticky. Oh my God, it's been 2 hours? Shoot, I didn't even realize. We're gonna wrap this up real quick because I do have to have the rest of my day, and I definitely want to make sure that we highlight some of the independent designers. I mean, and then you have stay-at-home orders and people. Yep. I mean, it's a whole world that these two guys don't know about and didn't even know existed. So obviously they got a lot of backlash. Obviously they got a lot of backlash. They were skewered on Twitter. They were skewered in the subreddit Craftsnark. Interestingly, it didn't seem to blow up on IG as much, but they've been pretty skewered all over the place. Dave, that guy Canadian, did attempt to get on Twitter and smooth things over. It did not go well for him. Did not go well. Eventually what happened was, after the blowback started, they put up a message, and I'm not going to put it up because it's such BS, but they did put up a message to the knitting community, and then they took down the first blog post that announced that they had bought knitting.com and replaced it with that, note to knitters. They shut off comments because they started getting comments and they were not going the way they wanted, so they shut down the comments. They took down the blog post. They took down the YouTube channel, or not the YouTube channel. They took down the YouTube video. That's set to private now. They took the podcast that I took some clips from. They took that podcast off their website, but like I said, that podcast is still available in several places, many places where you can listen to your podcast. It's still up. So they've kind of tried to scrub the internet a bit, but not that much. And as we know, because we are tech savvy people, the Wayback Machine exists. Oh yes, it exists. So yeah, I have a PDF copy of that original blog post. Because as I said online, if you look at knitters are going to look back at you. So yeah, Jillian Eve, the way he pulled his daughter into this mess to shield him from the criticism when he said he wanted to knit because the 6-year-old daughter was learning knitting. No, yeah. That's referring to both some Twitter and to the knitting community blog post. He talked about how part of the reason he was really interested in this space was because his 6-year-old daughter had become interested in knitting and he wanted to learn beside her. Oh God, there's so much to go over with this whole debacle. But the reason I'm personally skeptical, I have no reason to believe that his 6-year-old daughter isn't interested in knitting. The reason I'm skeptical about how this is somehow driving him with knitting.com is because, and I'm going to go back to that 2019 blog post from Mike Jackness where it's like, it's important that you have your own passion for whatever it is you're selling. They never once in the podcast talk about their own interest in knitting. They talk about the competition. They talk about the possible product catalog. Very broadly, no specifics, just broadly that there are products that they can sell. They never talk about their own personal interests. They never talk about having if you're going to get into a craft niche to sell products, they never talk about how it's really good to have your own interest in it, to be the audience yourself. Never talk about it, which is why I'm very skeptical of that post. Yeah, this was hysterical. Also, Pearl versus Pearl. I mean, I get they're homophobic, but it's the language of your industry. Fix it, right? That is referring to a comment to the original blog post. Dave responded to somebody said, like, I'm probably like one of like the 99.99%, something like that, white men who knows what a pearl is. And he misspelled it. And that sums it up. Their interest was the dollars. They wanted to make it rain. Let me tell you something. The world is strewn with the... I'm not going to go there. That's a terrible metaphor. Not going to go there. Anyway, let's just say that there are a lot of people who've come before them who have tried to build a business in the craft world, who are more knowledgeable and have not been able to do what they think they're going to do in 5 years. Like, so I need a palate cleanse. I don't know if you all need a palate cleanse, but I need a palate cleanse. So I'm going to, I gotta change my screen, share, and we're going to look at some pretty patterns from independent designers. Oh shoot, if I can get to it. Oh, I really want to do pattern spotlight. Don't slow me down. Sorry, I just need a minute to do this. Oh man. Fudge, I can't seem to do it. Sorry, I'm having internet problems. Yay. Okay, I'm having problems getting the share screen going to show the patterns. And I think my internet connection is like starting to go, what the heck? It's been 2 hours. This is the longest live stream I've ever done. Oh, fudge. All right. Oh, man. There we go. Thank you, Saradon, for the smack. I think it worked. I think it actually worked. Okay, let me see. Get over here. Get to the right. There we go. Okay. I think, here we go. Nope. I'm trying to find it. Trying to find it. Why is it not coming up? You know what? Let's... Sorry, I'm trying to get my share screen going, and we are having problems. But if I have to, I know what to do. That's my... Okay, I know what I'm going to do. For some reason, the screen that I had for my is not working. So I'm going to just try a different screen, which I know I can get to. Because this is important to do this week. com/fiber. While I'm getting this up, I do want to again point out that there are actually really serious things going on in the world right now. And if you are interested in supporting Ukrainian knitting and crochet designers, Kathleen Sperling on her Twitter feed has a Twitter thread of Ukrainian designers who are selling on crafts or on Etsy. Craftsy, that's a throwback. On Etsy. So if you're interested, you can definitely check that out. Okay, that should do it. Yes, success. Okay, thank you for sticking with me while I got that done. We are here. We are ready to do pattern spotlight. Oops. Sorry, I gotta get now. There we go. Close that. And here we go. Fiber Happenings. I'm going to have to do my affiliate link shout out real quick, which is just again to say Knit Picks is having a flash sale on Wool of the Andes. And today is its last day. So if you're interested in that, check out Knit Picks for that. And if you want to utilize one of my affiliate links, as a little thank you for today's live stream, please feel free, or buy me a coffee, or or super thanks, whatever. It's all good. All right, so the first pattern up is from Bullock Ozcan Design, and it is a lovely classic Fair Isle beanie. I think that if you're interested in trying your hand at Fair Isle, this could be a really good pattern to look at, because it doesn't appear to have very long strands of yarn. You're not gonna, I don't think you're gonna have to necessarily catch a lot of long floats with this pattern. And the crown shaping, there's not Fair Isle patterning happening on the crown. You're back to solid color. So this could be a really good introduction to Fair Isle knitting if you've never done it before, or if you're a longtime Fair Isle knitter. This project, I think, could be a nice relaxing knit for you. So yeah, that is from Bullock Ozcan Design. Normally I like to click onto their website to see more pictures, but this is running so late, I don't think we're going to be able to have time to do that. So sorry. But it is a very pretty hat. Next, and if you want to stand with small, even though Etsy can be incredibly problematic in its own way, there are a lot of small businesses on Etsy, a lot of fiber-based small businesses on Etsy, and if you would like to help support them, please shop on Etsy for independent designers and everything. Oh shoot, I gotta fix that. Sorry. I hate when I find a mistake on the website in the middle of the live stream, but there we go. You know what? I'm just a little granny vlog, right? So low quality content you're gonna get from me, I guess. Feel like knitters need a badge, like proud to be a granny. But this is from Lavish Design. This is a new hat from her called Warm Among the Wheat. It's another lovely beanie, and you can see in the close-up photo on the right that it has this lovely kind of traveling stitch. I think it's traveling stitch motif that does kind of look like wheat, and it is worked in 1x1 twisted rib. I personally always really enjoy these types of patterns. I really love working twisted rib. I just find it enjoyable, but I also always kind of like this because this type of kind of crossing stitches is very, like, you don't need a cable needle. It works very quickly, and it's the kind of thing that gets you really lovely results that aren't that difficult to do, but that other people look at and are like, oh my gosh, how do you do that? And it's the secrets of knitting. But yeah, so this is from Lavish Design, and I gotta say also, Lavish Design is a designer who I discovered through last year's Fasten Off Yarn Along. She has a lot of beautiful work on her website, so I would highly recommend checking her out, especially if you want to do any like lace or shawl knitting. She has some beautiful, beautiful designs, and this is just her latest one. Next, from Periwinkle Dragon Design. She is a longtime friend to Fiber Happenings, but this is her Vanilla Bean socks, and this is actually several different types of socks. I'm just going to read her internet flyer here. Simple sock toe-up sock recipe, easy to follow introductions with video tutorials, and yeah, it's really just a vanilla sock pattern. But I hate to say just a vanilla sock pattern because it's so much more. She offers different ways to knit the sock, different techniques that you can use, and you know, being able to knit just a basic sock pattern really sets you up for every sock pattern. That's one of the things I really love about knitting socks, is that once you have like the basic structure of how to do it, yes, there's a lot of things you can play around with heel constructions and toe constructions, but once you know how to knit a basic sock, you can knit almost any sock. Like, it's just one of the things I really enjoy about it. Going down. Okay, so a bee in the bonnet, Lauren Rad. She has a new pattern that came out not this past week, but a couple weeks ago. And this is her Catalina Eddy blanket. And it features kind of, you know, I love that Lauren Rad has such a distinct aesthetic, and this blanket definitely features all of the motifs that you kind of commonly find in her work, but it's in a big cozy blanket, and it's just, you know, we're in February going into March. It's that time of year where things are still cold, but it might start warming up, but you still have cooler mornings and evenings, and it's so nice to have a blanket to snuggle yourself up into. And I'm sorry for another affiliate plug, but the sample for this was knitted in wool of the Andes. There we go. Oh, this is cute. So this is from Amy Snell, the Devious Knitter, another like friend to Fiber Happenings, Deacon's Bayou. It's a cow pattern, and I feel like this cow pattern, and it's probably because of the colors that the samples are knitted in, has such a lovely spring vibe to it. Like, it just makes me think of spring and warmth and the happiness of that. And I know, like, Carrie, you live in Southern California. Isn't that your life all the time? And I can say, not all the time. It's not all the time. It's just 90% of the time. But this, I don't know. This just is a project that makes me smile. And it features this really cool motif that's, how, I can't remember the exact details, but the way that this is done is cool. It's cool. It's, I think, if I remember correctly, it's a combination of I'm trying to remember the name. It's a technique where you wrap the yarn around a series of stitches, and it's done with slip stitches as well. But I'm totally blanking on the name of it. All I need to do is go up to the description and read it. Inlay technique. Inlay technique. That's but yeah, some of this is created with, I think it's the two straight lines that you see in the motif down below. That's called an inlay technique. It's very cool. It kind of mimics embroidery. It's something I've wanted to try out more because I don't think it's getting enough notice. Next up, Lauren was very busy at the beginning of the year, about a month ago now, probably. She put out this design February 4th, earlier in the month, which is the Auklet shawl. And this pattern is a little bit different from her. A lot of times, Lauren Rad's work it has this very like sort of airiness with it, because a lot of times it features like eyelets or a little bit of lace detail along with textured stitches. And I feel like this pattern is really leaning into more textured stitches, and it has this very cute, like very cool cable detail that goes along the edge of the shawl. So it's very cool, and it's nice to see that sort of dichotomy between the Auklet shawl from February 4th that she released and then her Catalina Eddies blanket. And I believe this we talked about earlier. So that's the end of the new patterns from this month, since the last live stream. But I want to scroll down, and because there's some very interesting news down here from Kathleen Sperling, Whip Insanity. She is doing something new, something innovative in terms of pattern design and being able to put out new work. She is crowdfunding her next pattern. So you can read about all the details at our website and here, but this is a concept of her project. It's called Between the let me read it. Between the Dragon and His Wrap, and she is crowdsourcing funds to develop this pattern and write it, and that would help pay for her tech editor and test knitting and all the things that go into, all the expenses that go into developing a pattern. If you're interested in kind of pre-ordering this pattern, you can do so on our website, and I'll just read it right now. The goal of the campaign is to raise funds to produce the pattern. By supporting the campaign, you're essentially pre-purchasing the pattern and getting a 20% discount off the regular price to boot. There are bigger perks available too if you're interested in getting in more. And this crowdsourcing will be open until April 15th. So if you're like, my gosh, that is a pattern that I would definitely want. I want that whenever it comes out. Get it now and help her get this pattern made. So yeah, that is Pattern Spot. Oh, is it all Pattern Spotlight? I think there was one more thing I did want to highlight real quick. Yes, one more thing. We talked about this at the last live stream, but I wanted to highlight it. Oh, shoot. I wanted to highlight it again real quick. My sister just texted me and it screwed up my screen. Adelante. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But she has been having a sale all month on her Critical Role crafts collection, and that sale ends on the 28th, which is tomorrow. So if you're interested in any of her patterns that are part of this Critical Roles collection, tomorrow's your last chance to get the discount. So I wanted to make sure I just reminded everybody of that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I need water. My throat is so dry. My throat is so dry. So I need to wrap things up. And I've been drinking coffee. It doesn't help. I'm going to drink more coffee now. All right, so this has been the longest live stream I've ever done. I've never had a live stream that went on for over 2 hours, but there was a lot to unpack. It was kind of a special event in the knitting world, and I wanted to kind of have my say and talk to all y'all about it. But also I wanted to make sure that we highlighted the small businesses that are, to me, the engine and the backbone of this fiber community and this business. And I think that you ignore them at your own peril. And I think that's one of the big lessons from this. So to wrap things up today, just wanted to let you know that I'm not exactly sure what next week's video is going to be quite yet. Just got a couple of things on the burner, but I will have a new video up next Friday. And I think that's kind of everything in terms of that. If you have stuck with me through the entire live stream, thank you so much. If you couldn't stick with me through the entire live stream, but you're coming back to finish it off, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for watching on the replay. If you're watching on the replay, please, if you haven't already, take a moment to hit the like button, the thumbs up button. Share this with anyone who you think might be interested in it. And what was I going to say? Make sure you're subscribed. I know, sometimes you think you're subscribed to a channel, but you're not subscribed. You think you are, but it turns out you look at the button, you're like, oh, I didn't know I wasn't subscribed. Just go ahead and click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Because if you click the notification bell, you'll get a notification whenever I upload a new video or start a live stream. Also, again, you will find my affiliate links, my Ko-fi links, all of that down in the description box. After the live stream, I will be putting up some more pertinent links to today's live stream. Nothing to those two schmoes. Nothing to them. But there'll be links to other tweets, other blog posts that speak to what has happened the last few days with those two guys that I think are interesting and informative. And that is it. I gotta go hydrate. So thank you again so much for watching me. I hope that you have a great rest of your weekend. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead. And as always, happy health and happy making. Bye.